There's a stretch of Route 2 in West Virginia that runs alongside the Ohio River like a dark seam stitching two worlds together. In the daylight, it's unremarkable. A two-lane road, woods on one side, water on the other. The kind of road you drive without remembering you drove it. But in March of 1967, on a cold night with very little traffic, something was waiting in those woods. And it was hungry. John Keel was not like other UFO investigators. While his contemporaries spent their evenings scanning the skies, filling notebooks with descriptions of lights and shapes and estimated altitudes, Keel was doing something stranger, something that made even other researchers uncomfortable. He was out in remote fields, examining dead animals, studying carcasses drained of blood with the precision no known predator could explain. He had begun to entertain what he called the vampiric theories, the idea that whatever was moving through the skies of America in those years was not simply watching us, it was feeding. Bo Scherzer was 21 years old. He had spent the 5th of March the way he spent many days, driving a Red Cross Bloodmobile along the rural routes of West Virginia, stopping at collection sites, transporting what was gathered back to Huntington. It was ordinary, unglamorous work. He did it alongside a young nurse whose name was never recorded in any public account. That detail's worth sitting with for a moment. She was there. She saw everything Scherzer saw, and history kept none of her name. By nightfall, they'd covered a long route. The van was loaded with fresh blood, human blood, collected that day from donors across the region, sealed and cataloged and stacked in the back. They were heading home. The road was dark. The road was cold. And on a particularly deserted stretch, the kind of stretch where you become aware of how far you are from anything, there was a flash in the woods on a nearby hill. Not lightning, not a reflection, a flash, and then something else. A large white glow appeared above the tree line. It rose slowly into the air, and then it flew straight for their vehicle. The nurse saw it first, or spoke first. The accounts don't distinguish between the two. What Keel recorded was the raw shape of the moment. Two people in a van on a dark road and something luminous closing the distance between the hillside and their windshield with a speed that didn't belong to anything they knew. Scherzer didn't answer her question. He pushed his foot down on the gas. The object didn't fall behind. It didn't arc away into the sky the way lights in the distance are supposed to when you accelerate away from them. It simply kept pace, effortlessly, as though their speed was irrelevant to it, as though it had already decided where it was going, and a van trying to outrun it was not a serious obstacle. It moved over the top of the Bloodmobile. Scherzer rolled down his window and looked up. What he saw horrified him. From the underside of the glowing object, something was being lowered. An arm, an extension, some kind of appendage that had no name in any vocabulary he had for the world. On the other side of the van, the nurse watched a second arm reach down toward her window. Whatever was above them was not passing over. It was reaching. The object appeared to be lowering a pincer-like device, deliberately, methodically, as though attempting to wrap itself around the vehicle, to grip it, to take hold of something that was inside it. Scherzer accelerated harder. The object matched him without effort. What saved them, if salvation is the right word for it, was something as ordinary as oncoming headlights. Another car appeared in the distance, then another. The road was no longer deserted. And whatever was above the Bloodmobile, whatever had been methodically extending itself downward toward a van full of human blood on a dark West Virginia road, retracted its arms, and flew away, just like that, as though it had been interrupted, as though it would have preferred not to be seen by anyone else. Bo Schertzer and the young nurse went to the police. The word Keel used to describe their condition was hysteria. That night, a radio newscast mentioned the incident briefly. The newspapers never picked it up. By morning, the story had already begun its slow disappearance into the sediment of things that happened in 1967 that no one wanted to look at directly. Keel heard about it anyway. He always heard about things. He tried to follow it up. He contacted the Red Cross and asked whether any bloodmobiles had ever actually vanished, gone missing on a route with no explanation. A loaded van and 2 people simply never arriving where they were supposed to arrive. The Red Cross thought he was a bit nuts. He found no record of a bloodmobile disappearance. But the question he was left with was not really about bloodmobiles. It was about the logic of the encounter itself. Because Keel had spent enough time in fields with drained animals to know that something was out there with an interest in blood that went beyond any conventional explanation. And here, on a dark stretch of Route 2 alongside the Ohio River, something had descended toward a vehicle carrying a full load of human blood and reached for it with what appeared to be deliberate mechanical intention, and been interrupted by headlights. Keel wrote about this case with a question he never fully answered, a question he seemed to turn over carefully before setting it down on the page, the way you set down something that might break if handled wrong. He wrote, quote, "I often found myself seriously wondering if we only hear about the people who get away." Bo Schertzer was 21 years old in March of 1967. The nurse beside him has no name in any public record. Route 2 still runs alongside the Ohio River through West Virginia. And on certain cold nights, with very little traffic, there are stretches of that road that feel like the kind of place where something might still be waiting, watching for a vehicle traveling alone in the dark, watching to see what it's carrying.